First of all, maybe said this post-match, I think to use lack of confidence is a weak excuse from us, because in truth, as a footballer, did I ever go into a game feeling super confident and brilliant? No, I didn't. I think most players are the same. I think they all go in with insecurities, uncertainties, anxieties before every game. Even the top players, you'd be amazed, but usually they come to life on the pitch. So we can't use that. And again, from the belief side of it, there's absolutely no point in us taking the pitch on Sunday if we don't believe we can win the game. So these are obvious things to say, and you encourage that belief in your players through your words, but also through your actions, and your own behaviours and consistency of behaviour. So it's like, if I don't think we can win the game Sunday, then I'll not turn up, and I will be there before before it starts a rumour. So yeah, I mean that should be a given. You know, irrespective of what's went previously, our players should absolutely believe they can win the game.
Looking at the game for the weekend, it's not been a great run of results, obviously, that have been there. How have you been preparing this week with the players, and what do we expect from Dundee United on Sunday against Celtic?
Well, I think in terms of preparation, there's, you know, each manager and coach chooses to work in a different way, but the one thing that I've always been is diligent, thorough, structured, organised, and that has to remain the same, and there has to be a consistency around your behaviours and actions, while finding the solution to the problems that have led you to having poor performances. So the structure has to be there. It's everything within the structure has to be adapted. We've had a good week's training, but in truth, I don't feel as if I've had a bad week's training here, and I don't mean that from just my own personal pat myself in the back. I just mean in terms of the response we've got from the players has always been good. It's just we need to take it on pitch. In terms of what to expect, then my expectation is that we have a committed team and one that has an energy about their play. That's the starting point for us, and it has to be. It has to be in order to get supporters back with us during those 90 minutes. It has to be like that to give us a chance of winning the game.
You have two competent goalkeepers in the first team squad that are going to be competing for this #1 jersey. Does that put additional kind of difficulties for yourself to have to make these choices between the two goalkeepers from game to game?
No, because it was the way we recruited. We wanted to recruit two goalkeepers that we feel would challenge to be #1. There are various ways of doing it. You can have a very obvious first choice and then backup goalkeeper, but the situation I inherited and then how we recruited meant it was always going to be like that. Selfishly, as a manager, you want the one that you choose to start the season to be absolutely brilliant every single week. Now that's not so great for the other guy that's competing, but it makes my job easier. But when any player has a dip in form or has challenging games, then the position always comes under threat. So I think it's healthy for it to be like that as a goalkeeper. It doesn't make my job any more difficult because I have these decisions to make about outfield players every single week.
Does it make it difficult because it is just either you're in or you're out, not like an outfield player who could maybe move to someplace else?
Nah, I mean usually outfield players are competing with one or two players to play most of the time. As I said, I understand the question in terms of them having more scope to play because they can fulfil a lot of positions, but in truth, you know, usually as an individual player, you know the players you're competing with to play, and you know that you need to play well, and that's why it shouldn't really be any different for a goalkeeper.
Just a quick one from me. What's the team usually looking like for this weekend?
Yeah, we're healthy. We've been healthy most of the season so far. We've had good choices to make. Just Pete Pollitt remains out long term. Logan Chalmers has had some issues, but returned to training today. But as I said, it's a bit of a stop-start for him, but everybody else is fit and healthy.
Over recent years, Dundee United's performances at Tannadice against the Old Firm have been pretty good over the last wee while. Is it sometimes easier to play Celtic and Rangers at home when there's a big crowd there and everybody's up for it, as opposed to some of the other games that you might meet in the league?
I don't know if easier is the word. It's just a different game altogether. It's one where there's maybe not as much expectation, but as I say, we've not been on a great run, so we've got a job within ourselves, within the club to push on and produce a performance. So that's what we're trying to do. As I said before, it's us against us to start with, and then we're going to come up against a right hard team, so we're going to need to be ready for the challenge.
Does that level of expectation that's presented sometime when the Old Firm come to town, does that kind of lift a little bit weight off the shoulders of the players?
I think everybody's different. I think some players, depends how they're feeling at that moment. Some maybe feel more pressure. Some maybe feel less. I can't speak for everybody, but understand what you're trying to get at. The a bit less expectation, maybe less pressure of some players, maybe. But we know Celtic are going to be up for the game, and we're going to have to match that. That's what we know.
So what do we expect to see from Dundee United this weekend, as I say, when they take to the park? A fairly full Dundee United crowd.
Hopefully 11 players for starters that are ready to roll up their sleeves and do some hard work and do the basics really well for starters, and then we'll build on that hopefully.